Hello, welcome back to the Reconnected Woman podcast.
Yes, today we're going to talk about what a reconnected woman actually means to us.
Yeah, because when we came up with this concept of a podcast, and we had an idea of what we wanted it to be about, and then the name actually came to us later on, and it's just actually so perfect because it just ties everything together of what we're all about and the journeys that we've been on. And we thought, what a great way to actually talk about what being a reconnected woman means to each one of us, because we
Yeah.
have our own, I guess, like meanings behind it. And I mean, everyone has their own meanings behind it, but yeah, this is very much like shaping this whole journey that we are going on and continue to go on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well said. I love it.
Just riffing here.
And I will say, just I'm a little nasally today, sort of dealing with a head cold sinus infection. So if I sound a bit blocked, that's why. But I'm hoping it will get better as the podcast goes on. Okay. So, Chantal, what does a reconnected woman mean to you?
I always look back at my own journey when I think of what a reconnected woman looks like for me, because the opposite of that is literally how I lived the first 28 years of my life, right? Like just feeling so disconnected and being on autopilot and just doing what everybody says that I should be doing and caught up with society and all of those types of things, right? So when I think of what a reconnected woman really means to me, it is being so in touch with your intuition and trusting yourself so deeply and just being so, I guess, in tune with your desires and what you deeply want and knowing what's right for you. And
Yeah.
that's what I feel being reconnected or being connected to yourself really means, because when you trust yourself deeply, when you back yourself 1,000%, when you know your deepest desires and you know what's right for you, then it's like everything that's external just doesn't matter. Like everything
Yeah.
that's going on just doesn't matter. And like we were having a conversation before we hit record, and it was all about feeling this wholeness.
Yes,
And
feeling
it's
whole and
yeah,
what it means to make you feel whole and complete. And it's different for each person, each woman, what we define as making us feel whole and reconnected as a woman might be different to the next person.
yeah, absolutely. And I know that this whole journey of becoming a reconnected woman or reconnecting to yourself is all to do with the unraveling. It's unlearning, it's healing, it's learning to block out all of the external noise and coming within. And there is this shift that happens when you do start to go within, and there is this kind of like tug of war as well, right? When you're at the beginning of this journey of, you know, reconnecting with yourself and being like, oh, actually, like this light bulb moment of the life that I'm living right now is actually not serving me. I'm not thriving. I'm literally just surviving. And we're not here to be on this earth and living this life just to survive and just to
No.
live a mundane life and wake up every morning and just feel so drained and so like that whole, ugh, I have to do this all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to touch on, go back and talk about intuition because I am so intuitively led, and it is something I feel so strongly about. And I just think that women have this amazing ability. I mean, everyone can be intuitive, right? But I think women have this sacred, like, real superpower ability when it comes to intuition. What are
Oh,
your thoughts?
absolutely. Like, I know when I was in my early 20s, be like, I'm not an intuitive person. Like, that's just a gift that some people have. But what I've actually learned is no, we are also intuitive when we block out the external noise and when we come within it, and it's like building a muscle, right? Like you've got to work on it because we get these intuitive hits all the time, and it's like those gut instincts.
Yeah.
But the thing is like we are actually programmed. Here, I'm going to go on a tangent here.
No, no
we're,
tangent.
we're, we're programmed to think logically. We are programmed to be so disconnected and not to trust ourselves and not to trust our intuition from the moment that we are born, right? Like, you just even think about the way that we soothe children when they're crying. Oh, it's okay, everything's okay, you're fine, I'll get up, it's all good. And I know this is just like a natural response that we give, but if we're crying because of whatever reason, we're hungry, we're cold, we're uncomfortable, and then somebody externally is telling us, oh no, you're fine, you're all good, get up, brush it off, you're all good. That's just from the very beginning.
We're learning to give our power away to someone
We're
else.
learning, exactly, and we're
Yeah.
learning not to trust ourselves.
And it's
Wait,
so
hang on.
sad.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I think this is a natural process that we sort of do as children, as we're relying on our parents or caregivers to guide us. And depending on your upbringing, and it could be a beautiful upbringing, could be a real negative, whatever. But I do think that you put your trust and um, in them more than yourself. So you really lose that. I know so many young people in their early 20s or teens, and you see that they're just really lost in trying to find themselves. And I can relate because I think you sort of go through this process as you age. And it's so sad. And to see like being lost or disconnected, and how beautiful would it be to instill this trust and this self-belief in children from a young age, to go, hey, what do you think, put it back on them. I see that being such a powerful thing that we can do for the younger women coming through, the younger girls. Like, it just, imagine what their lives will be like if they're starting off like that and they're not behind the eight ball having to relearn it in adulthood. They're just going to be some powerful women. I think they're already coming through. Some of them are here. The way that things are shifting. I mean, I'm going off on the child tangent now, but yeah, I can just see as like a middle-aged woman now what it's been
Um,
like.
middle-aged woman?
I
Who?
feel
What? No.
I, I feel middle-aged now, I'll be honest.
You are not middle-aged. Oh my God.
Oh, I don't know.
You're
I'm
in
about to
your
be
30s.
37.
That's not middle-aged.
Yeah.
God.
But yeah, it's just I think that being authentic is so powerful as well. Learning to be your authentic self, whatever that means to you, and just forgetting about judgment of others. That has been the biggest lesson for me, I'll be honest. Like, I used to worry so much about what it was like to fit in. I wanted to fit in. Like, I think because I moved around a bit and I was even moving internationally, different countries. So it was such a different experience, where a different culture that I was used to. And then I was like, okay, I've got to fit in here, and I'd do whatever I could. And because I was fear of being judged and fear of being different. And one of the best things I've come to now is I live a pretty different life to a lot of people, and I've got things in my life that aren't classed as the norm. But I know that everything I'm doing is my authentic self, and it's for me. And there's going to be people that will judge me, and I'm just like, I don't care anymore. I just don't care because when you're living a life to please others, you're crushing your own soul, and your body will show you all signs of unhappiness until you are paying attention.
Yeah, and that whole authenticity is such a big thing because when you have been living your life based on what everybody else says that you should do or who you should be or how you should behave, I even look back to when I was at the beginning of my journey, I didn't even know what my authentic self was. And so for somebody to be like, oh, just be your authentic self, I'll be like, well, what is that? I don't know what that is because my whole life I have been doing what everybody has been telling me to do and behaving how everyone says I should behave, that I completely, and I think this is where it comes from, right? When you talk about the teenagers and the early 20s and completely feeling so lost and just being like, well, who am I? Because
Yeah.
yes, I think it's definitely a natural part of the like a rite of passage to have this whole identity of figuring out who you are. But I think it has a lot to do with the whole fact that everyone is telling us who we are. And when you get to that point of being like, okay, well, who am I? It's like, really, you have to peel back all of the layers and question literally everything and being like, hang on, is this really me? Hang on, does this actually feel right for me? Hang on, is this even the right thing for me to do? Like
Yeah.
it's a full unraveling.
And it takes time. If you haven't had, if you've had a life where it's not been at the forefront, it will take years to unravel. I think that it's a constant journey and it's changing. It's always changing. What are your thoughts on self-esteem? I feel like that is such a huge topic when it comes to women. And there is not one woman I've ever met in my entire life that hasn't dealt with issues around self-esteem. No matter who they are, we all feel this pressure to be a certain way, and we beat ourselves up, whether it be like how we look appearance wise, what we should be doing. Like, yeah, it's just such a huge topic.
You know what I'm going to say here. Let's open the can of worms.
Yeah.
This is all conditioning. I was reading something, or maybe it was a reel that I was watching, and it was this lady that was, oh no, you know what it was? It was a speech at a American college graduation, and this
Okay.
professor was talking about imposter syndrome. And she actually said that all of this stuff really originated a lot from, I think it was the First or the Second World War.
Okay.
And because what was happening is that, all the men were away, and so the women had to step up and do all these different jobs that men used to do. And so then when the war ended, there was this weird kind of thing going on of, okay, well, the women were doing all of like the masculine jobs, and the bicycle, I think it must have been World War One, because the bicycle was invented, and the bicycle was this way that women could actually get around independently
Yes.
without needing a man to help her get from A to B. And there was this thing that started to come out called bike face.
Oh, what's
And
that?
yeah, and this bike face is this it's kind of like resting bitch face, literally. It's like this bike face where a woman is like, you know, looks this certain way and looks that certain way, and it's all because it's all caused by the bikes. And it was just absolutely insane, but also hilarious just listening to this definition. And from that moment, like, you know, they're taking because they're so uncomfortable with this change. It's like, okay, well, let's try and deter women away from doing this thing. And you just look back at like history and women going into the workforce because, you know, there weren't as many women in the position as men, and so then it would be like a competition. Well, you know, we would literally be pitted against each other. And so it makes so much sense that we question ourselves, we doubt ourselves with every single thing we do, because we have been needing to be up against men in the workplace. And there's definitely a huge shift happening now. But that's where I feel it's really originated from.
Yeah.
And that, and also the whole fact that our whole lives we have been relying on other people to tell us how to feel, to tell us what to do, to tell us subconsciously, right? We don't even know we're doing it. So yeah, like that self-esteem is absolutely going to take a hit because we've never learnt how to trust ourselves.
Yeah.
We've never learnt that we are actually worthy and that we don't need to look a certain way or do a certain thing or speak a certain way or dress a certain way or whatever it is in order to be loved, accepted, and to belong. And when we look at the primary like survival of what we actually need in order to live, we need to belong and we need to feel loved, otherwise we can't survive. So it's literally a survival mechanism for us to be in this people pleasing, to be in this whole like shifting and morphing and shaping ourselves in order to be liked, because that is literally how we survive.
And I also want to touch on competitiveness amongst women. I've dealt with this forever, I would say. I've been on the receiving end of it where women are genuinely horrible to me because there's this competitiveness, and that I think stems from the self-love issue. You know, whenever I meet someone, and even for the first time, you know, when I meet people, I always go in open, joyful, and I can get the coldest response or people just withdrawing and being really negative. And I just think, wow, okay, that's a self-esteem thing. And it's like, I've also been in the side where I've been competitive. Like, I can't say that I'm fully innocent because I've had moments of really deep insecurity and
Oh
needing to
yeah.
try and control everything in my life. So I've just felt like intimidated by other women. And it's just so sad because the loneliness that caused me in my life, like, there's been times in our lives where we've been wounded by other women, and having to learn to heal from that and trust in ourselves, like we're saying, but also trust in other women again, that we're not all here to hurt each other. Some women are just hurting and they need love and support, and they need that someone to lift them and help them with their self-esteem. And that's truly, I feel, at the heart of it. And we don't need to be competing. You know, there's enough for everyone in the world to have what they want and to have a happier life. But yeah, that's just something I feel strongly about, that competitiveness.
Yeah. Well, I I look at the workplaces that I've been in, and they always say, and every single woman I speak to says, I would rather work with a room full of men than a
Yes.
room full of women, right? Because
Yeah.
men just say it how it is, and then that's it. Whereas we internalize everything, and then
Yeah.
we need to make meaning of everything as well, because we are
Yes.
meaning making machines. Oh, she said this. What does that mean by this? Like, and then we go on this massive spiral and we make it about ourselves, but maybe that person was just having a really shit day.
Yeah.
And the whole competitiveness is truly, like as you said, it's women who are hurting and feeling so unseen themselves, so unloved themselves. Hurt people.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the biggest realizations I had on my journey, was when I realized that the way that people speak to me, the way that they, behave around me, or, that competitiveness, it wasn't actually about me, it's about them.
Them, yes. That is the hardest thing to learn sometimes, or it can take the longest when you're in the thick of it, trying to figure yourself out. But the reality is, it's where they're at, and taking things personally is just beating ourselves up. It's another form of, we're not having that self-love in that respect, are we? We're thinking that we're not good enough, or that we've done something wrong, and that is conditioning in itself of our own experiences and what our own traumas and life's challenges have been.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, when it comes to history and all of kind of thing, yes, it was very much a masculine type of thing, but I don't want to hate on men, because men are just absolutely incredible, and it's not their
Yeah.
fault either. It's this societal conditioning. It's a whole. It is literally this massive piece that is being fed from all angles, like the media, like just our family, our friends. Like it's not like, oh, it's the men's fault or whatever it is. It's got nothing to do with that at all. Like when you really step back and you start to see, like especially watching the news, right? Like you start to see things from a different perspective, and how they're slowly drip feeding stuff to condition us to think a certain way, to be a certain way, to behave a certain way, and it's not the male or the female fault. So it really is, again, because then obviously if we're causing blame, then we're
Yeah.
just part of the problem.
I was just about to
And
say, fear and conflict or anger are like the lowest states you can be in, the lowest vibration. So if what do the media do? They create fear in people, and they show conflict, and it's just, that's not a great state to be in. You're not going to be full of joy and confidence and happy if you follow that. I just don't watch the news, I'll be honest. I have no idea what's
oh
going on in
no,
the world.
God, I haven't watched the news in years,
Yeah.
and it's the best decision ever. So that's a little
Yeah.
tip for you
Yeah.
ladies. If you still watch the news, now's the time to stop.
Yeah. What about I'm going to go into a bit of history here, and this is probably touching on my spiritual interests and side. What about the witch wound? This is like something that's been talked about in history, and it really intrigues me.
Well, it's the same thing as blackface, isn't it? Right? Like,
Yeah, I was thinking
because
that.
because it wasn't just spiritual women that got burnt on the stake. It was any woman that spoke out that made people feel uncomfortable. And it wasn't just the men that felt uncomfortable, it was the women as well, right? Like there would be women that felt uncomfortable of other women speaking out, and other women just not falling into line, and they would throw them under the bus. So like when we look back at generational trauma, or even past life trauma, if that's what you believe in, then like of course this is going to be taken through to each stage of our lives if we haven't healed that part. If
Yeah.
I know I've definitely done past life stuff, and I have this oh my gosh, I remember having this one flashback moment, and it was crazy to me because it wasn't being burnt on the stake. It was, I was flicking through Instagram one day and I saw this contraption that somebody had shared. It's like this iron or steel headpiece,
Oh,
and
I
that you
think I've
put on
seen
your
this.
head, and then there would be like a piece of metal that went in your tongue, like in
Yes,
your
I've
mouth, to
seen this. Oh
hold
my
your
God, I have a
tongue.
story on this. Yep.
And I had such a visceral response when I felt or when I saw this picture, and I'd never seen this kind of contraption before, and just everything inside of me just felt so like so much anger, and I literally had this flashback of having this contraption on my head and being led through a crowd,
And
and
that
it's like the
stopped you from talking, didn't it?
humiliation.
So that the whole
Yeah.
purpose of this contraption was to hold your tongue so that you didn't have a voice.
And you would be led through the crowd being absolutely humiliated while wearing this contraption. And it's so interesting because for so long I would get these weird sensations, like prior to even seeing this thing, I would get this sensation of like a compression around my head.
Oh, wow.
And I've had it for as long as I can remember, but it like comes and goes. But I notice it when I really tune in with myself, and I'll feel like this pressure around my head. And I never really understood what it was or what was going on. I was like, oh, that's a weird sensation. And then after seeing that contraption, I was like, oh my God, that's literally what this thing would feel like, is like this
Jeez.
compression on your head. And I would get this metallic taste in my mouth as well when it was, and like just
Wow.
putting together the pieces, like so, and I just think about my journey of feeling so afraid to speak out, to speak my mind, to go against the status quo, and to be out of line.
Yeah.
And of course I would have that as well, like that fear if I went through that in the past life as well. So
Yeah.
it's so intricate and complex, all of these things. Like there's childhood trauma, there's
Yeah.
workplace trauma, there's past life there's so
Yeah.
many different pieces when it comes to it.
I had an interesting experience. Only a few weeks ago, I took a client down to the Wax Museum down at Surfers Paradise, and they actually have a torture chamber where it has all these tools from history of how they tortured people. And I was just like, oh, okay, this is not great energy. But I went through and I just looked at, I mean, it was like a guided tour, so that it was good. They explained everything. I saw that mask there you were talking about with the, so it was really crazy. But I reacted viscerally to the burning of the stake, and I just out of like honestly, there was horrendous torture tools there, but I saw that and I couldn't look at it, and it was like, wow, I think I've had some sort of past which wound, and I think sometimes being very spiritual and connected to my intuition, there are a lot of people that still judge you on that, and they're like, oh, that's just crazy, how can you prove that? And that's like who I am, and I haven't spoken out about a lot of stuff. I think that history of women were just really in tune and really using the land to help themselves heal, and we've been directed outside of ourselves to heal. But now there's this huge movement of us coming back and going, wow, we can use the natural environment, we can use our intuition, we can say no to medical professionals if we feel they are incorrect. And I just think that that's really cool. But one thing, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent, it was related to what you were saying before. One of the things I know, and I want to say this because I think it's important for a lot of women, you're saying talking and being seen is like a big um well, I think it can be a wound for a lot of us throughout history, but I actually directly had a family line. So my grandmother, my mum's mum, she had this belief that if she saw people who were very confident. She would say this line, and it was, I love myself, who do you love? As though people who were like that weren't able to love other people. It was like they were selfish. It was negative comment. And to be like that,
Mm,
that's what she sort of taught my mum. But that was something I could see in my family line of like being like taught, no, don't be confident, don't be showing yourself and expressing everything because that's a really negative thing. And I was like, now I look at that and go, oh my gosh, no, I think we should be celebrating women who are like, hi, this is who I am. I'm not afraid to show it. I think we need to be seen. We need to voice how we feel and celebrate ourselves, you know?
absolutely. And it just goes back to that whole thing of competition, right? And
Yeah.
nastiness and judgment. And it's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah.
Always. Because what I have come to realize is by you speaking out, by you being your authentic self, by you literally just not caring what other people think, you make other people feel uncomfortable because and people are either going to take it one of two ways. They're either going to feel threatened and be like, oh, that's not right, and shut it down and maybe
Yeah.
take it out on you, or they're going to admire you and be like, oh wow, that's amazing, like
Yeah.
I wish I could do that. Or you could be a permission slip for other women to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to
Yeah.
share that. I thought it was really something that I think a lot of us have probably experienced where it's like shame around being seen. And I guess that's, in a way, social media is helping generations now to be seen, which is good. That's a positive side.
Yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of my own healing has come from just showing up on social media and just doing it.
Yeah.
And and also knowing that, you know, if the nerves come up and the self-doubt comes up, it's not because we can't do it, it's just because we've never done it before.
Yeah.
And so like having all these having all these different mantras of like, yeah, the nerves and the fear and the self-doubt isn't because I can't do it, it's because I've never done it before, and
Yeah.
it's not me, it's them. And yeah, I think just having all of these sayings in your head of just reminding yourself of like, okay, this is not my reality, like this is where I really want to work on myself, this is really what I want to change, is literally changing our own thought patterns. Yeah.
Yeah. That's powerful. Really powerful. I think that we're going to see a real movement in these next sort of, what are we, 25 years or so, just with women really coming into their own and blossoming and just healing all their wounds and hopefully all just uniting and, you know, prepping for these next generations. It's
Yeah,
just going to
and that
be,
we're not alone, and that we don't need to do it alone, and that's that whole like the sister wound as well, right? Of having that past experience of being bullied and judged and not feeling accepted by other women, and
yeah,
that's like what they call the sister wound. And then healing really all of that and coming together with other women that have done the healing or in the same journey as you and understand what you're going through.
yeah,
That alone is like, and that's been a huge thing for me because I was always such an independent person and being like, oh, I've got to do this myself, and it's up to me, it's up to me. But that's really not the case. Like coming together, we can actually heal each other as well, because like community is so, so important.
I was just going to say we're better together and we don't realize how strong and what's the word? How strong and powerful
Powerful.
we are until we, like, I think the worst thing that we can do is isolate. Um, and if we're isolating, we're hurting. So, Yeah. I think that we should be connected. And I think that's all part of it. The Reconnected Woman is about connection with ourselves and with others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that ties it up so, so perfectly.
Yeah. Even with a blocked nose, and this like freaking head pressure. Like I'm still managing to get a bit of insight.
Those intuitive hits keep coming through.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm just gonna say it's on the right side, the masculine side that's blocked. My feminine is all flowing today. It's fine.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And that's a thing too, hey, balancing that masculine and feminine side in like women. We've gone from history would probably say we were more like on the feminine side where it was like really nurturing, intuitive, and not really in the workforce to then becoming masculine and going, I need to prove myself. Men are not going to tell me otherwise. And I'm going to just be living in my masculine, go, 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 productive. And then you're like, body falls to pieces and goes, whoa, we need to balance this out. You've got to have yin with yang, right? It's just, yeah,
Yeah, like we have swung
yeah,
completely to the other side of being like, I'm so independent, I've got this, I don't need anyone. And that's not supportive either. Like as you said, we need a balance, and that was where I was. I just like completely swung to the other side, and that wasn't serving me, that wasn't supporting me, that wasn't making me feel whole. It was just making me feel even more burnt out and more frustrated and more disconnected. And again, it's like coming back to that self trust and surrendering and
yeah,
being vulnerable, because vulnerability is so actually it's so powerful, because that's where
I
true
agree.
connection comes in.
Yeah,
And the the ability to actually surrender and to be held by others is so, so important when it comes to being reconnected, because we can't hold it all,
yeah.
we can't do it all.
And we're all work in progress. There's
Yeah.
still days where I'm like, I can do this. I can do it all. I don't need anyone to help me. And then I fall apart when I'm like, I just want to tell someone this and I want to talk to someone about it. And then I have to retrain myself. Okay, reach out, be vulnerable, talk to a friend. You don't have to do it alone. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited to see where this goes and what women we meet along the way and hearing their stories and about their journeys
Yeah.
to wholeness.
And to being reconnected.
Yeah. I think that sort of sums up how we feel about the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, in a nutshell, it's having that intuition, trusting yourself, knowing your deep desires and knowing what's right for you, and and by being reconnected to yourself, you're able to connect with others, and that's like, it's that wholeness, it's really coming back home to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. You've been listening to The Reconnected Woman. And
And we'll see you next time.
yeah, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.